Hey everybody, I hope you're doing well. In today's video, we're going to be talking about equipment that is good for someone with a physical disability to use. So we're going to go over some kitchen utensils, talking about some adaptive technology. I'll also be showing you what I use and explaining some of the benefits and the cons to adaptive equipment as well. Some of these things can help with independence, especially independence with cooking. So we're going to start off with dishwashing and laundry tablets. Depending on a few things, especially when it comes to an individual's skill set, well, not skill set, like ability sets, sometimes pouring liquid into a tiny little cup may not be a good option. You may have tremors in your hands, or you just can't hold, depending on how your hands are matter, you may not be able to hold the liquid like the little cup while you're pouring it or putting it into the tray. One of the things that I find useful is capsules. All you do is pretty much just toss it into the barrel with your clothes and you're good to go. Now, within that same sphere, sometimes you may find it hard to actually open, depending on whether they're in a bucket or in a pouch. I found it easier to put them in a container, just one of like the Sistina containers with the side hooks that you close for food. So that's what I do with mine. And it's actually a lot more easier to manage than if it's in liquid form. And speaking of latched containers, that is my next point. Depending on your mobility and whether or not you can use your hands properly, latch containers can be so much easier to use than like regular containers. You don't have to worry about applying pressure to the actual container. All you do is just open the latch, lift it up, get what you need out, then put it down and close it. It may not be for everybody, but latch containers are so much easier to use depending on the severity of your disability. It's also great, especially if you only have one use of your hands, then it's easier just to hold it in place without actually having to hold it in place. So the next two are cooking related. We're going to start off with an air fryer. Air fryers are so good, I don't know what to say. If you are teaching someone who's younger, like in their early teens, how to cook, I'd recommend using an air fryer. One of the best ways to teach someone how to cook. One of the favorite things that I actually like putting in the air fryer, believe it or not, is pumpkin and a bit of roast chicken. That's an experiment that I had one day and it turned out perfectly well. And also speaking with that, I'd actually recommend a induction cooktop, which is our second point with this section. One of the reasons why I think an induction cooktop is actually better is one, you can lock the setting, which is a great feature, seeing as sometimes you may be able to accidentally bump what you're using, right? You can put the setting, like the temperature setting on, then there's usually a button to lock it in place, which I think is great. You do need special like pots and pans that are copper based. Yeah, sorry, I'm just looking at my notes. A drawback is that you do actually need like special copper based like pots and pans that work with an induction cooktop, which usually are written on the label whether or not they're like induction cooktop friendly. But other than that, I do actually think it's a good way. It's pretty much like an electric stove anyway, right? And the best thing about, like, another good thing about it is that you can't burn yourself on an induction cooktop. The only thing that heats up is the pot itself. So you don't have to worry about accidentally burning yourself on an open flame. That is why I love induction cooktops so much, is that you can't burn yourself. So sometimes you need to chop your veggies, right? Chop, chop, chop. But sometimes it can be hard to chop the entire vegetable if your hands aren't great. And that's where veggie cookers, that's where veggie choppers come in handy. There are some that are just like pull drawstring ones, but you've also got ones that are bigger. If I didn't have mine packed away right now, I could actually show you. But the one I've got is got like a push spout thing that you just press down. And like depending on the severity, like again, if like me, you have trouble with both your hands. Sorry, wrong way. With both your hands, veggie choppers can be very good. Depending on how much grip you have and how much you can actually use it, it's a great resource. I started off when I was doing cooking with a drawstring one. Then Mum bought me the one that I currently have, which is the push down lever one. So before we move on to the adaptive equipment, I just want to talk about medicine storage just for a second. Things like ibuprofen and Telfast or whatever antihistamine you have in your country. So one of the things that I found really, really helpful is to put them in containers like these. These are just like rice shakers, salt and pepper shakers. They have an easy to remove lid that you can just lift out and pop the tablets in. I found it easier to do this than having them in the individual blisters because sometimes I'm a clumsy person, right? Sometimes I drop the tablets, and I thought I'd try this method. I still keep the original boxes in that and just refill them when I need to. But I found that putting them in containers like this, especially if you have bad hands, is a lot easier than having to try to pop the blister open and accidentally dropping it somewhere. You never know who will find it, especially if you've got pets. So this is just a recommendation I have that is super duper easy. Now that I've talked about the helpful tools that I use both for cooking and in the laundry, let's talk about adaptive kitchen equipment for the moment and a couple of the benefits that I can see with it. One, adaptive cookware is exactly what it is on the label. It's cookware to help someone with a disability either chop vegetables or non-slip like chopping boards. I've had access to a non-slip chopping board with things to hold the food in place before, but I would never actually probably get something for myself like that, mostly because of two reasons. One is, where would I put it? Where I currently live, because I'm still living with my mum while filming this, we don't have enough room in our cupboards. Even after we get rid of stuff is still everywhere. So they're usually bulky, is what I'm saying. And there's no easy way to put it. And two, what if you go somewhere, right? You cannot take it with you. You don't have access to it. And this is something me and someone else who used to support me were actually having a conversation about once. Is, yes, we could get you all this newfangled equipment, but what if you go somewhere, like on a holiday, for instance? How would you adapt to a regular situation? So adaptive cookware is great, but you can't always take it with you. That's what I mean. It's lack of portability. Sometimes, like I said, you just can't take it with me. So while chopping boards like this are great. And I loved the one I had access to when I had access to it. Another thing about adaptive cookware and adaptive anything is the price. Okay, so you can, if you're in Australia like me, you can get certain things funded through the NDIS. I will say that. But I don't know if it's worth it, to be honest. Like, there are other ways where you can adapt to, like, cooking situations. And I said it in this video, I really do think an induction cooktop is actually a piece of adaptive technology that people kind of do sleep on. So yes, those are my thoughts on some helpful items that I hope you found useful. If you have any in the comments that you'd like to talk about, let me know. I'm actually always looking for new ways to do things anyway. So I'm sorry about the lighting with this video. I'm sorry that it's in 2 separate parts. I really do hope this helps. Thank you for watching this video, and I shall see you next time. Bye everyone.